You're listening to Knives Monroe versus the podcast, and we're here to make things about guns and stuff.
Welcome to another episode of the podcast. I'm Knives Monroe, and with me is writer filmmaker Joshua Segundo. Josh, how you doing?
Doing good. How are you?
I'm doing great, man. In February, we did a podcast discussing Where Do We Go, which was a film that was in the middle of a crowdfunding campaign at the time. So it wasn't even materialized. It wasn't real yet. But here we
Yeah.
are, 7 months later, and it's real, man. So that's what we're going to talk about. First of all, congratulations on a successful crowdfunding campaign. Let's
Thank
start
you.
there. Walk me through the turmoil, the uncertainty, the drama of the crowdfunding campaign, man. Like you cut it close, you went down to the wire, but you made it. I think with Steed and Spark, you had to get like 80%. Correct me if I'm wrong.
80% all or nothing.
Yeah. So, I mean, talk to me about that.
So we hit the 80% mark, maybe about an hour before. Uh, the day before, I think we were about like $1,000 away. And I texted the DP who, he and I had already had several meetings, discussing the film. We had already built out the shot list and, we'd done a lot of prep work for it. And I texted him like, I'm sorry, like this is not going to happen. And that's really where it was. 24 hours before it broke, I was just like, well, this is it. I put everything into the crowdfunding campaign. I really, it's work, man. That's really what it is. It's a lot of work. But I am incredibly grateful that, we hit our goal. And, that is something that I'm going to never take for granted.
How did you do it? Like, was it politics, like shaking hands and kissing babies? Like, I believe you hit 9. Is that correct? Or
We
were you
hit 8.
asking for 9?
Yeah, I think we hit about like 8 or 9. I'm not entirely sure. I think it was 8.
How'd you
Like
do
8.
it? How'd you do it? Because people are going to listen to this. A lot of like indie nerds and indie filmmakers and aspiring filmmakers hear this. You did it. Like you did the impossible. I made a crowdfunding campaign and we didn't even raise $100. This was like in 2013 or something. And,
Sure.
I was nobody, so it wasn't going to happen. But how'd you do it?
That's a great question. I mean, I think the one thing that I've definitely preached, and I said on the last podcast as well, is like working on set, getting on crews. So a lot of producers that have known me, they were like, "Oh, it's really cool that this guy who works on crew is wanting to, make a movie. He's wanting to become a director." So I had a lot of help as far as like from producers. Um, we had an angel donor as well. Her name's Janelle Lee Austin. She was very, very sweet, and she came in clutch. And I woke up one day and I just saw like a lot of money. I'm not going to specify the amount. And I was like, who is this lady? And we met, and she was just like super, super excited about film. She loved the campaign. And then, she asked to be on set. She was like, "I'll do catering, I'll do anything." And I was like, "No, like I want you there." So she was her script supervisor, and she did a great job. And I think hopefully the story just kind of connected with people. And I think that's really what it was. I mean, I wear everything on my sleeve when it comes to like what I wanted to do with it. And hopefully people connected with that. I wasn't trying to I don't know, I guess scam anybody with money. And I mean, you've seen the film, and I would say like we put everything on the screen.
Absolutely. So talk to me about, wow, the day that you guys you knew that this movie was going to get made. You funded it. How long
Mm.
between funding it to shooting? What was that gap, and how long was that?
About like 3 or 4 weeks.
That is fast.
Well, we had a lot of prep work, so we were under the impression that this was gonna get done. Like, we had so much prep work already done. We had already meetings with so many people. It was basically just like putting down deposits. Like I had already talked to a lot of the locations, a lot of the crew. Everything was pretty much ready to go. We just needed to get the money.
Was the movie already cast?
We cast it during the crowdfunding campaign. Um, I would say I think we had like 1 or 2 actors before before it was before we kicked it off, and then I think like maybe a week out we finished the final casting.
So let's get into some nitty gritty filmmaking stuff. Obviously, you said it yourself. The money is on screen. You went big. Tell me about the camera that you used. I did see the movie, so it is a special watch. It feels like it was shot on film. How did you achieve that?
So we shot on a Arri Alexa Mini, which a great friend of mine, Stephen Lauren in Austin. If you're looking for an Arri Alexa rental, hit him up. He hit us up with a really good deal, and we just really couldn't pass it up. Same thing with we got really great deals on lenses, and then we had a really great colors that just kind of came in. I met him in July, and then he came in at the end and really added to that look that we really wanted to go for.
I feel like a real Barbara Walters like interviewer here. Why anamorphic?
Um, I really wanted to like have the spread, if that makes sense, of the look, and I really like the wideness of it, and I really wanted to isolate characters in space.
Damn, that is smart. I remember in the campaign, and I'm sorry, it was a while ago, and this has been a hell of a year. So I apologize that I don't remember the specifics.
Hmm.
But you in the campaign, I can recall you vocalized your influences and like different films that kind of inspired the picture. What were those movies that inspired the look of the film, if there were any, or other pieces of art that inspired
The
the look of the film?
yeah, the look. I mean, I would definitely say we were heavily inspired by like very early Safdie, like Daddy Long Legs. We really liked Good Time. That was another pretty big one. Um, I mean, it's not necessarily like the same exact look, but we kind of wanted the feel of After Hours, and then story wise, Bicycle Thieves was like a really big inspiration for us.
Man, um, real quick, and I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but I gotta ask because I'm just putting myself in the position of the listeners. They're hearing this. When can the people watch this movie?
So we are currently in our film festival run. We are throwing it everywhere, and I'm going to be promoting it like crazy on our Where Do We Go Instagram page. So hopefully, uh, we're aiming for a fall of 2024 like internet release, if that makes sense. So I really want to put in as many film festivals as possible, and hopefully, listeners can see it at specific screenings. I mean, I want to put it all over Texas, um, and yeah, we're throwing it all over the country. So we're just
I've made a few movies, nothing big, nothing as good or as cool as Where Do We Go. Um, but for me, when I have the final cut locked, I'm done. I'm over
Mhm.
it. Like the afterlife, I don't care about showcasing it. I love the XP that you get from showing it to an audience. Like that's where you really grow, I think. Um, but you got a long journey ahead of you still with this movie. Like talk to me about um the longevity of it, and I mentioned this in the last pod, the afterlife, the shelf life of it. Like talk to me about like your plans and showing it and like what the big picture looks like for the movie.
I mean, if
And
we,
how long do you want to carry this? Because surely you want to move on to the next thing already, but you just had a
yeah,
baby. You know what I mean?
right, right. I mean, I think both of those things can coexist. I think, like there's a long life after it for film festivals, in my opinion. It's gonna take a while. And I want to see it on the big screen in as many cities as possible. I want to be able to network with different people. Um, I put a lot of my eggs into this basket, and I wanted to go as far as it can. Um, so, I mean, yeah, I do definitely want to work on new projects. I know you and I had talked about like vaguely what I'm working on, and I think they can happen simultaneously because the life of that thing is going to that is going to have like a life even further than that. So whenever, even if Puerto Vigo is still in its festival run, the newer project can still be in pre-production and production. I think I can handle both of those things simultaneously.
Do you remember? You probably do. I'm sorry, maybe you do, maybe you don't. Do you remember the date of day one of shooting the movie?
Third week of March, some Friday. That's
Okay.
all I remember. I don't remember
And
the exact date.
how many shooting days?
Three, uh, three, and then two pickup days.
3 consecutive shooting days?
Yeah, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then we shot a shot on Monday, and then a shot on Tuesday morning.
Uh, can you divulge? I know the movie's not out yet. What those
Mhm.
pickups were, and
Uh,
why you needed extra days for that.
yeah, it was basically just like a time of day thing. Like we needed specific shots to happen on a specific day or time of day. Like we needed the sun placement to be in a specific spot. Um, so that was really the biggest reasoning as to like why we couldn't do it on normal production days. It just didn't match up with our schedule, and it was like one actor, so it worked out that it was fine that it was only shot on the for the pickups.
The reason why I ask is because so I suppose you wrapped third week of March, correct?
Yeah.
It's as of this recording, it's Thanksgiving week of November, so that's the third week of
Sure.
November. It's been however long that is from March to November. I'm not good at math. Um, when you look back at the movie, not to be like nostalgic because it didn't happen that long ago, but
Mhm.
when you look back on it, like what's like top of mind? Like what do you remember? Like what's the stuff that like sticks with you about the process of making the movie, of actually shooting it?
Honestly, like I think we were so go 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 that it was a lot of it's kind of a blur, and I kind of wish I had someone there to be doing BTS because I was just sorry. I
Hello.
was super locked in while we were doing it. But I mean, uh,
Next time, call your boy.
yeah, okay, you got it. I do. I mean, I do remember a very specific moment, and you and I had vaguely talked about this, but obviously we did shoot on a bus, like a moving city bus that we rented out, and it was day three, and it was just like we were just letting the scene play out. Like there's nothing I could do at that moment, just watch the monitor. Um, and that was like probably one of the few moments that I was able to just sit down and just like watch this happen. And it felt like I was able to actually fully take in the whole process. Because I feel like day one was fun, but there was always that like thing in my head. It's like, oh, we have to go tomorrow. And then day two was the same thing. It's like, okay, tomorrow's the big bus day where like I don't know how this is gonna go. Um, and something funny that our assistant director and producer Drake said going into day three, he goes, "Hey, so today might be easy or it might be a nightmare. We'll see how it goes." That was like our crew meeting, uh, and at that point, it was our last scene on the bus, and most of the film was already behind me as far as like things to worry about. So that was definitely the moment that I feel like I'm going to remember the most of just being able to fully take in like I'm shooting this thing that's been in my head for, at that point, like 2 years. And I didn't know any of these crew members when I wrote the first draft of this film, and they're all here. They're all spending their weekend with me, and this is amazing. This was on a page that I wrote, and a few people told me this is cut the bus. This is ridiculous. This isn't going to get made. And being there, being in that moment was like, this is happening. This is crazy.
This is the Knives way of asking a question. I remember watching the trailer for Everything Everywhere All at Once. Did you ever see that flick?
Yeah, I love that movie.
Great. Of course, there's the iconic montage of actress' name is slipping me, Michelle Yeoh.
Sure, yeah.
And it's like every frame there's like a new shot. It's like everyone knows that shot. And I remember seeing the trailer for that, and it's literally like this composite of 200 shots of all these different timelines, all these different setups. God knows how long it took him to make that. And I remember seeing that, and I'm very familiar with the Daniels as filmmakers. I've been a fan of their music videos and their short films, and I was so happy to see their success. But watching this trailer, I remember having this thought as a filmmaker, oh shit, they did everything the hard way. Like to make a movie like that, to do all these practical effects in camera, all the staging, all the composites, all that shit, they did it the hard way. I really respected that, because we live in such a digital time where we'll fix it in post,
Sure.
When I watched your movie and I was seeing these characters interact on the bus, I'm watching this and I'm like, holy shit, he got a real bus. Holy shit, this bus looks like it's actually moving. Holy shit, that looks like a real bus driver. You did it the hard way. You could have cut the bus like you were being told by people that are close in your inner circle. Why did you do it the hard way?
I mean, I had a specific way that I saw it in my head, and I didn't want to compromise from that. And I guess I enjoy the challenge of being able to solve the problem of how are we going to do this. We had a lot of different options. We had the idea of just like renting out a bus, keeping it stationary, and doing lighting gags across the windows, and we just didn't think it was going to look that good. We tried it like very briefly with some stuff, and it just didn't look very good. We thought about doing green screen outside of the window, and going out and shooting plates of a moving camera, or like if it were a bus, and none of it just looked nearly as good. So yeah, I mean, I wanted the audience to feel that they were in that bus with the characters.
Obviously, my company is called Indie Darlings. I have a tattoo that says Indie Darlings. Where that comes from is it's sort of a derogatory term, like, oh, these indie darlings over here, these indie dirty filmmakers, these guerrilla style, whatever. And I wanted to embrace that and really indulge like the indie filmmaking world. You're probably going to go on 10, 15, 20 years from now and direct like big budget things. But right now, here we are in this moment in time, and you're in the indie world, and I love it. It's the world I'm going to stay in forever, I think, by choice or by fate. It's such a logistical nightmare to film in a fucking bus. Like, it's such a logistical nightmare. Like, it should, but you did it. What was the biggest expense of the movie? You crowdfunded it, so people knew what they were pitching in for, and they knew where their money was going, more or less, I think. But what was like the biggest expense, and what was the most expensive scene of the movie?
It was definitely the bus. The bus cost us a decent amount of money. Being able, like I said, like being able to shoot that the real way, it just worked. We probably could have done it a little bit cheaper, and maybe we could have done a set build. I don't know. I honestly never even considered that until right now. but there was a lot of different ways that we could do it, but it was mostly all locations. We had, I believe, 8 or 9 locations in the film, and then we paid for all of them. So, why we wanted it to look like there was a real school that, this character picks his daughter up at. There was this real office building. There's this, we shot in a restaurant, like there's a lot of locations that we utilized. And instead of, using, I don't know, like some office building that has a kitchen in there, that has like a little, staff kitchen to make it seem like it's a restaurant. Like that's just not gonna work. So yeah, I mean, like I said, I wanted it to do it the way that I was envisioning it.
So talk to me about your vision. Like, what was the germ of the idea? Where did it come from?
Yeah. So a lot of it came from a very like frustrated time in my life, where I guess I felt a little directionless when it came to what I was doing. I was still bartending. Actually, no, at that point I wasn't bartending. Where I was DoorDash driver. I had just started. It was middle of the pandemic, um, and just feeling very, very, very inadequate within myself. Um, and I remember having a conversation with someone, and yeah, I didn't blow. I was like discussing this idea of a backpack, uh and talking smack about like a hypothetical kid that I remember from elementary school or whatever. And I was like, that was so annoying that they would do this thing. Like I hated when this kid would say, backpack as pack. um and then the person that I was talking to, they mentioned like, I don't think you're mad about the pack. Like you're mad about something else. um and I think that's really what started the germ in my head of like this story about this dad, this frustrated person who is trying to figure out his placement in life, trying to figure out his placement in his daughter's life. And his whole story is wrapped up around this backpack. And it's this, the stakes are low. It's like the movie Election. That was like a big inspiration for like the stakes being so low, but I wanted to make it so high for the characters. So the stakes are very low for in the grand scheme of things, but it means a lot for the characters. It's a character piece. And it's not about the backpack, it's about everything else that's revolving around the simple small stakes plot. And that's kind of where it all came from.
I encourage people who are listening to this after they watch the movie, whenever they do, to come back and listen to this again. And I think that will become a little clearer. Like that'll make more sense. You have to kind of watch the movie to know precisely what he's talking about. But yeah,
Sorry
come
about
back.
that.
Yeah, no. I mean, it is what it is. Um, it's hard to say what I'm about to say without sounding like a, a condescending douchebag. But I'm gonna go for it anyways.
Hear it.
The script has such a mature perspective that I'm surprised you have. And here's what I mean by that. I don't think it's a spoiler to say the movies it revolves around the protagonist, who is a father of a daughter of an 11-year-old girl, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
And there's so many nuances in this character and the frustration that a character goes through as a father. And it's such a particular thing that like if you have to kind of walk a mile in those shoes to really know. Louis C.K. has this great joke about putting his family in the car and then like getting his daughter and putting her in the the car seat, and strapping her in, and then getting the bags and loading them into the trunk, and then it's this whole thing, and he's sweating, and it's hot outside, and it's just having such a hard time putting everybody in the car, making sure wife has all her stuff, closes the passenger side door, walks to the driver's side, and that walk is his vacation.
Mhm.
And that's the punchline. And it's just such a great encapsulation of like how frustrating it is to be a father. I say this because you're not a father, but how do you have this perspective? And talk to me about the writing. Like you mentioned the germ of the idea. How did you get to the last draft? Like how did you know this world and like those frustrations so well? Because I can tell you that like they're very realistic. And I know a lot of my friends don't have kids. I'm like the only one that does. And they don't know what it's like to load the kid up into the car. They don't know what it's like to forget something or to go to the doctor's office and not have the right information, you know, and they don't know these little things. And but I felt like you do. So it comes from such a mature, lived in place. Where does that come from?
I think um I think a lot of it comes from maybe how I react to myself, if that makes sense. Where you know, maybe I'll do something, or I'll like you said, like go to a doctor's office and forget something, and then I'm there and I feel like such a idiot, right? Like I called myself that a million times, and then in my head, you know, the secondary thought is like you're so dumb. So I think maybe that's kind of like I'm fathering myself in that sense, where it's like I'm messing up simultaneously, and the second thought is how could you, you know, how did you do this? So in a way, I kind of feel like that's kind of been my life, where I'm constantly beating myself up. Uh, Luckily, I've definitely been working on that a lot, but I think at that time it was like it was mistake followed by beating myself up to a degree of just feeling so low about myself. And I think being able to, I guess, capture both parts of myself, where I'm messing up and also reacting to that, is kind of where a lot of this came from.
The dialogue of I can't remember her name, apologies, but of the daughter,
Lizzie, yeah.
Lizzie, um, was just so spot on. Like especially Gen Z little girls,
Mhm.
such a particular tone. How'd you nail that?
I mean, I think a lot of it had to do with casting. Um, you know, there's the two things I'll probably say I'm like the most proud of in this is casting and locations. Because a lot of it feels real, and a lot of the casting just feels right for the role. Um, and Journey, you know, she nailed it. I think she brought a lot of herself into it, um, where she was able to kind of play with these words. You know, I kind of allowed them to. You know, there's a lot of moments where she'll do an eye roll, or she'll look at a character and say a line in a specific manner. Um, and I'm glad that we didn't go into a route of like Gen Z speak. Like there's no like, I don't know, like no cap, or there's nothing like that in the film. But like the mannerisms are there, and I think that stuff is definitely going to feel, um, it feels very real, because I think we just allowed her to go and do things the way that felt right to her. And you know, her being 11 years old, she was able to just be an 11-year-old.
I had a question, and Zoom told me that we got 10 minutes left.
Oh wow, that was quick.
Yeah, so I want to make this count. Um, I have to ask this question, even though I don't want to ask it because I don't care, but I want to ask it from an objective place because someone out there might care. Um, you casted a black family.
Sure.
Why? And I ask that from the place of, you know, without there's so much responsibility that comes with that. You know, like, is it a black story? Are you telling a black story? Are you the person to tell it? You know, you're a person of color in America, so you have a certain perspective as a minority. Um, but where did you did walk me through that process? Um, Walk me through the guts to make that decision, and how that paid off, or if it did, or I don't know. This is why I didn't want to ask it, because it's a weird thing to ask. Like, I don't look at things like that, and I don't care, but it's such a cool decision. How did that come about?
I think, writing this piece, it was definitely very like a very personal piece for me. And I think when writing it, I did, like, the film's not about race. I don't think there's any comments about racism or any kind of um, political stance on race throughout any of the film. Um, but I think me writing it and having a very like personal touch on it, um, I I mean, I didn't like shy away from white people, auditioning. I let everyone audition, and honestly, had Ellis not gotten cast, it would have been a different actor who was a white man.
And Ellis
Um,
is the protagonist, just to be
Ellis
clear.
is the protagonist, yeah, Chris, and we thought he was perfect for the role, and even in hindsight, I think he killed it. Um, but yeah, I mean, I did ask, I asked some friends that I've worked with in the past, like my friend Raul, to audition. Um, I asked a lot of people because I think I wanted it to feel, I did want it to be a minority, but not any minority specific, if that makes sense. And if it didn't work out, then it didn't work out. It wasn't like the end all be all, like this has to be a minority story. Because like I said, the film is not necessarily about being a minority, but Natalie, who plays, the mother in the film, she also, there was, we auditioned so many people, and she's one of the few actors where when she auditioned, I said, that's who I want to be in this film. Michael is another one. When he sent in his tape, I was like, this is the guy, and he played a fry cook. Um, but there was a lot of actors in there where it was just like, this is perfect, and it just worked out where I loved Ellis for the role, I loved Natalie for the role, and Journey was just the perfect kid for the family, and it was just like the perfect kind of storm. So it wasn't like, oh, this guy's better, but he's white, but I wanted to be a black guy. That wasn't any sort of, that had nothing to do with the decision.
I have to take this time to gush about the movie. I'm from Donna, Texas. I'm from the Rio Grande Valley. 956 represent. You're from Mission. We come from the same place. I've always personally prided myself as a Valley filmmaker. And yes, above all, I am a filmmaker first, but I come from the Valley. I showed my first movie and I promoted it, and I got a lot of shit for promoting it as an RGV film. Like, that was in the title of the promotion, and that rubbed a lot of people the wrong way. Um, are you ever going to show this in the Valley? Do you have a sweet spot in your heart for Mission or anything like that? If so, do you have a timeline for something like that? Like, do you even care?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely do. I do have a huge sweet spot for Mission. I will be honest. I've never been the biggest like Pluto 956 guy, just because like there's so many cities in there that I don't feel connected to Donna. I don't think I've ever been to Donna, or like Weslaco or Harlingen or Brownsville. It's just like like I kind of only care about Mission, because that's obviously like culturally we're all collectively very similar. But yeah, I mean I have a massive love for Mission. I do want to show it at the border. At some point next year, we're definitely going to have a screening there that I want to do. A lot of people who were friends from back home that crowdfunded, I want them to be able to come out and watch it in the theater. I want them to be able to not just have a link and they watch it on their phone. I want them to have an experience where they go to a movie theater and they see the film that they helped make.
I want to thank you publicly for letting me watch the movie. Like, it was so cool. I saw it on a big ass TV and it looked great. there was, gosh, I don't want to give it away, but filmmakers it's a feast for the eyes for filmmakers specifically, because you just went so big, and the sound design was like amazing. I don't know if I gave you enough credit for that in person. It was just so seamless. There was no strings. It was kind of perfect. Like, I told a few friends, I was like, I got to see it, and it's fucking really good. Like, it's really good. I have a feeling it's gonna go really far in the film festival circuit. Um, where does it go from here, man? Like, where do you? What's next for you? Like, are you over it, like the way I would be, or is the journey kind of just getting started? Because you do want to milk that, and enjoy that. Stop and smell the roses. What's next for you?
For Where Do We Go, it's definitely like a one-off short film. I don't personally have much interest in making it into a feature. I definitely want to move on to making more stuff. But I do want it to see. I want Where Do We Go to have as big of a life as it can be as a short film. I want to, I'm preparing on starting pre-production. I'll just call it that, for a short film next year, that I want to keep very small. And that's as much as I'll say about that. I want to make more music videos. I just directed a music video. Yeah, I just want to direct more, and I'm very glad. Coming into this year, I wanted to make Where Do We Go and two short films. Two music videos. I only ended up making one. Either way, I'm super super happy with the way 2023 went, as far as like my career goes, for sure.
And I'm proud of you, man. Like, you're one of the few guys that from the valley got out and actually did something, and gets the reps in, and isn't a shithead about it, and isn't, you're bringing up other people alongside with you. Like, I respect that, and I'm very big on that too. I want to see everyone around me succeed, and I feel like, if people aren't around you right now, they should get in line, because you have a bright future ahead of you. And I wouldn't say that if I didn't fucking mean it. I talk to all kinds of people, and most of the time I tell them to quit. Like, most of the time I tell them, this ain't for you. Like, you're too soft for this. Like, this is not for you. Like, go be a doctor or something. But you're a filmmaker just like me. It's in your blood, and I love that, man. Where can people support you on the internet? Where can they um, have their eyes on the next thing, so they know, and they're in communication with you with Where Do We Go goes from here? How can people support you on the internet?
Yeah, I mean, my Instagram is Josh_second. The film's Instagram is WDWG Film on Instagram. So we'll definitely keep posting on there every time we get into a festival, or if we're coming to a city in Texas or around the country. Because I definitely want to travel as much as I can to be there for the film. I don't want to just like send it off to a random festival and have not be there for it, because this is my baby.
Dude, I just want to say it again, if I didn't say it enough times. Like, your movie's really good. I can't wait for people to watch it. So if you're listening, check it out. If you're watching this and it's 2024, odds are you're going to be able to see it, especially if this is like Q4 of 2024, which is fun to say. Check it out. It's going to be on Vimeo eventually in the future. And for those that pitched in, like, thank you for that. For those that saw this podcast and heard about it, thank you for listening. Josh, thank you so much for coming on the podcast, man. It means the world to me.
Thank you. I appreciate you for having me. And I just want to say real quick, just like, very grateful for everyone that helped out, made it, had it done. We had an amazing crew, and I'm eternally grateful for everyone that let this film just exist in their head for even a second.
Thanks, Josh.